Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Darklord Yugioh deck profile. It's been a couple years since the last time I updated the Darklord deck. The whole deck focuses on being able to summon out some pretty big boss monsters and also shuffle back spell and trap cards that have Darklord in their name to be able to count as activating the said effects when you shuffle them back, giving you multiple access to many of the different Darklord spell and traps, whether they search, special summon, and go for even some fusion summons with our extra deck using some of the many different spells and traps we have. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the Darklord 3 ofs that we're running in the deck, I'm running 3 Darklord Yugioh. You can discard this card and 1 Darklord card to draw 2 cards. Quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points to target a Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard. Apply that target's effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use each effect of Yugioh once per turn, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. So it's a go-to draw card, setting it up in the graveyard to then just special summon it back onto the field with cards like Darklord Contact. Just make for a pretty good, boss monster, setting up more cards in the graveyard as well, because you can send a Darklord card with this card. It doesn't say a monster, so you can set up many of the other different traps in the graveyard to then just shuffle back with this card to activate. I also run 3 Darklord Nastin. You can discard 2 other Darklord cards to special summon this card from your hand. Quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target 1 Darklord spell trap in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, and shuffle it back into the deck, having more shuffle power, but also graveyard setup for just being able to special summon Nastin out onto the field. It's a level 7 monster. The big thing, the Darklords do have a lot of varying levels, so when you go for XC summons, you have to mostly rely on some of the same name ones to have on the field, along with some of the other 1-ofs that we run, but Nastin still is just an easy special summon to make use of, to even go in for some of our link summons like Condemned Darklord. And I also run 3 Darklord Superbia. When this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can target 1 fairy monster in your graveyard except Darklord Superbia and special summon that target. So you can target cards like Yugioh and then just special summon that card back onto the field when this card is special summoned from your graveyard. So using cards like your Darklord Contract to special summon Superbia is definitely a plus, just giving you another special summon onto the field aside from Darklord Superbia. And I also run 3 Indulged Darklord. If this card is normal or special summon, you can take 2 Darklord monsters from your hand or deck with different levels except for Indulged Darklord. Special summon one of them to your opponent's field in defense position, and then add the other one to your hand. Also, you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of this turn except for fairy monsters, which isn't really too much of a limitation. We still have some of our extra deck plays, and the rest of the monsters that we run in the deck, which are fairy dark attributes. And then that special summon, you can always just give them one of the weaker ones, being able to have that card set up, with one of them being our Darklord Yugioh. When it's normal or special summon, you can send 1 Darklord card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. So you can just give your opponent the Yugioh as one of the ones you targeted, and then be able to at least have that monster to get over, which would definitely be easy with your other Darklord cards, and give you the other resource thanks to Indulge Darklord. But with Darklord Yugioh, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Darklord card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. So this gives you a send of any of the monsters or spells that we run in the deck for you then to utilize. This is also one of your go-to normal summons along with your Indulged Darklord. Most of the time you can also have both of these cards resolved through a special summon, so if you set up one or the other in the graveyard and have the spell to go for, or just the shuffle back effect to activate that spell, you can get them back onto the field to use. For some of the lower numbers for the Darklord monsters that I run, I also run 2 copies of Darklord Tezcatlipoca. If a Darklord monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can discard this card instead. And during either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, target 1 Darklord spell trap in your graveyard, apply that card's effect, and shuffle it back into the deck. You can only use this effect of Darklord Tezcatlipoca once per turn. You can only special summon it once per turn. So this has a protection effect, being able to discard it from your hand. That's why I'm running 2 copies of it, so you can have this search to add to your hand with some of the other cards in your deck, like your Banishment of Darklords, and then also be able to have the shuffle back effect like some of your other bigger boss monster Darklord monsters. I also run 1 Capricious Darklord. With this one, during the main phase, you can activate this effect to tribute 1 fairy monster face up. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can make all monsters your opponent control lose 500 attack and defense for each fairy monster on the field. So the bigger the swarm, the better this card is. 1 Darklord Nurgle. If your fairy monster attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, target 1 Darklord spell trap in your graveyard, and shuffle it back and apply that card's effect. 1 Morningstar. Star is one of the bigger boss monsters in the deck. It cannot be special summoned. If this card is tribute summoned, you can special summon one Darklord monster from your hand or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. And while you control another Darklord monster, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. And once per turn, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Darklord monsters on the field and gain 500 life points for each Darklord card sent by this card effect. So it's also graveyard setup with this card because then you can just shuffle back the cards with some of your other Darklord monsters, with the final ones being one Darklord Dusk, discarding this card, one Darklord card to target one in your graveyard and adding it back to your hand and having the shuffle back power. And lastly, the one Darklord Desire. It cannot be special summoned. You can tribute this card by tributing one fairy monster, and once per turn you can target one monster your opponent controls. This card loses 1000 attack and send it to the graveyard. So you have 3 sends off of this card, and just sending those monsters gets around destruction effects that they also may have had on the field. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 copies of Darklord Contact. Special summon one Darklord monster from your graveyard in defense position. You can only activate one Darklord Contact per turn, so it's just a special summon. This can add to so many of the extended plays you may have with cards like Darklord Superbia, giving you one of the discard cards to use with Nasten, because then you can just special summon it back into the field with this spell and gain that other special summon for the other Darklord monster you sent to the graveyard. And I also run 3 Banishment of Darklords. You can add one Darklord card from your deck to your hand, except for Banishment of Darklords. You can only activate one Banishment of Darklords per turn, but the shuffle effect, once again, can work as well, giving you more and more search and special summon with both these cards if you were to shuffle it back with one of the boss monsters, giving you more special summons from the graveyard altogether. And I also run 3 Allure of Darkness just for more of the draw option by banishing. You run plenty of dark attribute monsters, so if you have some with the same name that you really can't do much with, since there are special summon and restrictions to once per turn, you can at least banish them and hope to draw into some more useful cards for you to use for the Darklord lineup, with the last of the spells being one Monster Reborn, just another resource extender, especially if your target is Superbia for the special summon. And then for the traps, I run 2 Darklord Rebellion. You send one Darklord monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to destroy one card on the field. You can activate this card once per turn, but still, you can have the shuffle back option with this card as well, and then still be able to use it a second time when you do so. I also run 1 Sanctified Darklord. You send one Darklord monster from your graveyard or face up from your field to the graveyard, negate the effects of one effect monster on the field until the end of this turn, and then gain life points equal to its attack. So this card can keep you in the game with its life point gain. The Darklord Uprising for the fusion play, sending one Darklord monster from your hand or face up on the field of the graveyard to fusion summon from your X deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, then gain life points equal to the original attack of the monster sent to the graveyard to activate this effect. 1 Enchantment. You send one Darklord monster from your hand or face up on the field of the graveyard. Take control of one face-up monster your opponent controls till the end of this turn. And for the rest of the traps, I run 3 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This card can just shut down so many decks in the current format that being able to just have one of your monsters with 2500 or more attack is the good majority of all of the Darklord monsters that we run in the deck, that you can just tribute and then, call, spell, or traps, and then your opponent loses all those cards they may have had in the hand, taking away from a lot of their different resources. The definite 3 of, because it's just a good first turn setup if you can get your special summon, setting this card, activating it, tributing out that monster, which could also just set the Darklord up in the graveyard for you to special summon back again. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the X deck, I run 2 copies of Condemned Darklord. You need 2 fairy monsters to make it. You can tribute fairy monsters that require 2 tributes by banishing 2 monsters from your graveyard. Instead of tributing it, it's still treated as a tribute summon. And you can discard 1 card to take 1 Darklord monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Condemned Darklord once per turn, and once per turn during your end phase, gain 500 life for each fairy monster on the field. So the more of the board presence you have with Condemned Darklord, the better it is. And also just being able to banish for the tribute, you can get out some of the bigger Darklord monsters onto the field that much more quickly thanks to this card. Before we get to the other Link monsters, I also run 2 of the first Darklord. I know we only run 1 of the Fusion Trap that summons this card out, but you could just shuffle it back with your other Darklord monsters to reactivate it again. That's why I'm running just 1 copy of the trap and 2 copies of the first Darklord. You need 3 Dark Fairy monsters. Your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with card effects. You can only use one of the following effects of the first Darklord once per turn and only once that turn. If this card's fusion summon using Darklord Morningstar as material, you can destroy all of your opponent's cards. So with that, you have your Darklord Morningstar as your go-to boss monster of one of the required cards to summon this card out. And during the main phase quick effect, you can pay 1000 life life points to special summon one monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. So that just gives you more access to more of the many different monsters. If you summon out the Superbia, it can extend your play by special summoning out another monster, and then that monster can rely on the shuffle back effects for being able to activate the many different spell or trap Darklord cards we have. For the rest of the Link monsters, I run 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 Underclock Taker, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Apollosa, Bow of the Goddess. And for the Xyz monsters, I run 1 number 68, 1 number 38, 1 number 62, and then also 1 Sky Palace Gongora Dai, 1 Super Dreadnought Cannon, Gustav Max, and 1 number 60 Dugaris the Timeless for the draw and discard with the level 4 monsters. I have a wide variety of rank 8s, 10s, and a level 4 just to go with all the many different levels we have for the good majority of the Darklord monsters. And as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the setup with the graveyard and just having your monsters on the field is a big part of it. Yugioh and Nastin are definitely very important key cards that play into this. Being able to discard this card and 1 Darklord card to draw 2 cards can not only set up Yugioh, but also the trap of choice. So depending on what trap you have in your graveyard off of the discard of Yugioh, can give you a draw 2, which could potentially be more Darklord cards for you to use as well. And then also, depending on what you discarded, can be used with the card if Nastin is in your hand, discarding 2 other Darklord cards, special summoning this card, and then you have the shuffle back effect of this card to rely on as well. If you ended up discarding one of these spell cards, it's all the better as well, because then you also have that search if you were to shuffle it back thanks to Nastin. If you had your banishment of Darklords, it just adds a Darklord card from your deck to your hand, but you could always also add off of this before you discard for the Yugioh and set up that card in your graveyard after activating it. Then activating cards like Darklord Contract can then just special summon back the Superbia to the field, activating that and giving you 1 more additional search. And if you go for cards like your Indulged Darklord when it's special summon, if you have this, or Uko back for the special summon, you'll gain the additional card effects that those cards had as well, being able to use those, and then also go into the additional Link plays, being able to summon out your Condemned Darklord. And if you have any of the bigger boss monsters in your hand, like your Morningstar, since you do have to tribute for it, you just have your Banish right then and there to summon out this card out onto the field, and then go for there, because then you also have your monster for the fusion play if you were to do so. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I've always loved updating the Darklord deck. It's definitely a scary deck, and if we get any more support, maybe some other additional monsters, another Link monster, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because it would definitely be a scary addition to the deck. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.